Hi, spots and cheap pops, ladies and gentlemen. It is me. It's me, Silicon Steve Valli, and I'm, of course, with the Vladi of all Dotties, current purple champion, of course, the Hi, spots and cheap pops pickup champ. And we're here talking AEW. Storylines are starting to heat up. We're less than a month away from Double or Nothing, and one of the probably the biggest, if not one of the top two biggest storylines within AEW. It's the Elite versus the recently turned heel Blackpool Combat Club. And Vladi Dottie, your thoughts on the BCC versus the Elite? By the way, before we get into this, who do you hate more, the Elite or John Moxley?
I hate the Young Bucks more.
Why?
They're so full of their own shit. They're gross.
Elite versus the BCC, the Bucks are killing it for me. So, like, immediately I'm anti them. So I would side with the BCC in this. Bryan Danielson and Claudio really do it for me, and I'm liking Wheeler Yuta too.
Little shit. I like how Bryan Danielson calls him that. It's great.
Yeah. Here's my thoughts about this feud here. I feel like what we're gonna see is what should have been the Elite versus CM Punk and FTR. I don't think we're getting it. And they're giving us sort of a taste of it through this. More likely that you'll see the BCC versus CM Punk and FTR in some way than you'll see CM Punk against the Elite. Just a vibe. I almost feel like Bryan Danielson, is like playing the part of CM Punk in ways. I mean, I didn't Punk use the term amateur at one point in the media scrum?
He certainly talked and referred to it as such, something about Reseda, like they run a promotion like they did in Reseda. You know that they had the same mentality. I don't know if it's specific to CM Punk.
Yeah.
And I'm with you there, but continue. I don't want to.
Yeah, so that's where I'm sensing, and it's like I'm this is like a little bittersweet for me. Like I would like to see Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega in some level with the Elite and this group. And I like the villainous Bryan Danielson, especially, when I saw him when he first arrived and he was like sort of flirting with it at one point. I really just, this is where it's sort of, what I want to see, I don't think I'm going to see. And this is like sort of second best. And, what I think is going to become more important in terms of this storyline is I think you're going to see the implosion of the Elite. And I think the BCC is going to go and spin off maybe against CM Punk and FTR. Maybe they go there. I don't know. But I don't think the Elite survives this. And what I think you'll see eventually is the Bucks and Hangman Page will be sort of connecting. And then I think you're going to see Kenny Omega and probably Ibushi and maybe Takashita.
Do you think one of them turn heel?
Where amongst
the Elite.
The Elite.
You wouldn't think Hangman and Bucks would be the ones that turn heel.
Right. Yeah, I think they'd be the faces.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know the case with that because there is the idea that Matt Jackson shook his head yes to Hangman. That was a big deal. Kenny hasn't seen it yet. Don Callis clearly wants to elevate Kenny and maybe thinking that the Young Bucks aren't good for that.
Right.
So there's that. And Kenny has shown a lot more emotion about Don Callis being beat up than anything else. He's family. He called him family multiple times, more so than he could anybody else that. So with that said, I think that is a situation where you're right. You could definitely see, if not a complete split, at least a big time rift between Kenny and the Bucks, because Kenny wants nothing to do with Hangman. And the Bucks are, if you're watching Being the Elite, the Bucks and Hangman are doing group texts. They're chatting. They're boys again. And to the chagrin of Kenny, Kenny was part of this is how Being the Elite tells their storylines. To get the real nuances of the Elite, if they're doing good storylines, which they haven't done in a year, so it's been a horrible show for a year, it's starting to get better because now they're actually doing storylines that work. They had a group text between Kenny, Hangman, and the Bucks like the old days. They had another guy in there too. I'm trying to remember who it was. Excuse me, did someone say my name? Nah, shut up, Cody. We had you last segment.
He never leaves.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But Kenny left. So Kenny wants nothing to do with Hangman still, is the idea. So I think you got a point there. Blackpool Combat Club as well. I think they're trying to establish them as the dominant faction in AEW at this point in time. And if they take out the Elite after taking out the prestigious JAS, then you're going there. Bryan Danielson, what'd you think about his promo this past Wednesday night calling out one of our favorites, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be?
And what you see there on the horizon, you have the Owen Hart Cup, the second annual. It's going to be held in Canada. And this is on the heels of what Bret Hart said about Moxley. So I'm thinking, is it possible that Bryan Danielson goes into that tournament and he just constantly besmirches Bret Hart, crazy heat leading into that tournament, perhaps? And some of it, he's basically taking the heat off of what Moxley had to endure from Bret Hart's words, where Bret Hart doesn't even refer to Moxley as Moxley. It's Dean Ambrose. And then ironically, who loves Bret Hart more than eternity itself? CM Punk and FTR. Like, this is how they could tie this together. I would dig that because there's real heat there too between Mox and Punk, and Bryan Danielson is saying about Bret Hart. And honestly, it's not like Bryan Danielson's the Miz saying this.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Bryan Danielson. And you know what? If anybody has a conversation to have at that table with Bret Hart, it's probably him.
Bryan Danielson, when he said he was better than that guy in terms of in bell to bell, I didn't think so until his run in AEW. And I see what Bryan Danielson can do with no handcuffs.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But I would like to see a bigger body of work because I thought in WWE, he wrestled a little vanilla because they didn't have a strong style. He wasn't able to be vicious. He wasn't able to do all these great submission moves. I mean, how many new moves have we seen Bryan Danielson come up with in this 2 years? I mean, this is arguably the run of Bryan Danielson's career.
Yep.
Was it the most popular? No. Yes. The Yes Movement, WrestleMania 30. Yeah, I get it. It was his biggest moment. It will always be his big moment. I get it. But if you just like professional wrestling and you like a certain kind that looks real and that you believe, Bryan Danielson, no one has touched his bell-to-bell performance in the last 2 years, at least in AEW. Seth Rollins would be the only person I would compare it to. They're 1 and 1A in terms of bell-to-bell the last 2 years, in my opinion.
Another little nuance to this whole, to Bryan Danielson calling out Bret Hart on AEW. Bryan Danielson was actually trained by Shawn Michaels. So you have that little, another little layer to this. There's a lot that they could do with this. And especially if they tie in CM Punk and FTR. Because, hell, what happened at WWE Hall of Fame when they went and brought in and inducted the Hart Foundation? Somebody ran into the ring and tackled Bret Hart.
They were a Shawn fan, weren't they? Known to be a Shawn fan, they found out?
I forget the circumstances, but
Shawn Michaels probably paid some guy to do it, let's be honest.
Man, these are salacious allegations.
That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. No, I'm kidding.
TR.
I could barely see him. I don't know what happened. NXT sucks still.
Where the Revival really got over. I knew they were great in the ring and stuff, but when that happened and they were the first ones on site, and Cash went and laid a lumping on that guy, and the crowd loved it. And they were like, there's no way you're putting hands on Bret Hart. It was like his personal security was there that night.
Yeah, it's great.
And that's where wrestlers do something like that in that moment. Bret Hart fans take note. That now you're sort of linked and you appreciate those guys. And how can you not look at what they do as a tag team? And you have the ability to tie Bret Hart. I really hope Bret Hart is willing to work with AEW and maybe be involved with this.
Thank you for watching High Spots and Cheap Pops. Please hit the subscribe button and please shoot us a message, comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. Be good to each other.